official identification of the bodies. Bodies, I might add, that were trapped in the ice for 6 decades. You, and by extension me, are going to climb up the mountain so you can identify them yourself.
I know, Oscar, I know. But I've just got to be sure. Because if one of those bodies turns out to be Dana,
We'll have no more trains to chase?
it looks like it's holding up, despite the storm. I don't think it's cold enough for fuel to freeze, but maybe someone should store it inside, just in case.
Are you sure you want to stay under the storm to see the bodies, Kate Walker? They'll still be here tomorrow, you know.
Maybe, Oscar, but I can't wait. I've just got to know now. No one here? It's not that late. I'd have thought Demoiselle Leni would still be up.
I believe that old people retire early, don't they?
Another one of those cigars. Demoiselle Leni had tea with someone. Maybe with that alpinist guy. A photo of Leon on a ship. Must have been taken during his return from Baltayar. But I still can't figure out how he survived the winter while he was on the run over there. Leni also had that newspaper clipping about Leon. Looks like the old girl's built a veritable shrine to him. There's something truly odd going on with Demoiselle Leni. I really ought to have a little chat with her. But before, the bodies. They're all that count right now. Too small for a door. Look, Oscar! A distant cousin!
What are you talking about, Kate Walker? And why are you laughing?
I was hoping to find Demoiselle Leni here. No time to explore the refuge again. I need to find the frozen bodies. What's this?
Oh, it's the frozen bodies from the Devil's Pass. The forensic team had to bring them up here because of the blizzard. But their generator shut off. I'm concerned it could damage the bodies.
Where's Demoiselle Leni?
Oh, in her room, resting. She collapsed right after the forensic team left for Wagen.
Jeez, what happened?
I'm pretty sure it has to do with the bodies. I mean, she was staring down in that direction for, well, all the time. And then, when they brought them up from the Devil's Pass, it was like she had seen a ghost or something. It was almost as if...
As if she knew the departed.
What?
Is someone taking care of her?
Oh yes, don't worry. She's with that hermit who brings her wood and provisions sometimes.
Okay, in that case, you go back inside. I'll take care of the generator.
Are you sure?
Positive, just go. Go on. I need to check something in the tent anyway. Nothing. Speak to me, Oscar.
This button must have turned on the generator, Kate Walker. But you still need to use the starter.
The gas tank's empty. I better find some fuel so I can turn on the generator.
Didn't you come across a jerry can earlier? Better go check it out.
Yes! Thanks, Oscar! Leni's left her lookout post. Hardly surprising with this blizzard. Locked, of course. Must be to crank up the generator. Oh, dry biscuits. Wonder how long they've been there. Forensics Institute of Vagen. That's not Dana in this body bag. Leon. It's as if he died yesterday. Like in those stories where people are found perfectly preserved in ice for decades after being carried away by an avalanche. Hard to believe he's been dead for over 60 years. That's quite amazing. And grim at the same time. An unidentified blonde woman in her 40s. That can't be Dana. That's it, Oscar. Dana's body is not among those found with Leon's. What a relief.
Now that that's cleared up, Kate Walker, maybe we should take shelter within somewhat more solid premises.
Right. We should go and check on Demoiselle Leni in the Refuge. I have a lot of new questions for her. Like the rescuers left in a hurry after they moved the bodies here. Must have been surprised by the blizzard.
That bloody storm.
Hello? Sir?
Are you sure you want to follow that individual, Kate Walker?
I don't think he looked threatening. Rather the opposite, Oscar. Sir? Are you there? What have we got here? This portrait, it looks like Leon. style reminds me of that other portrait of him that he described in his letter from Baltayar. The one made by the...
Dana.
The Go-Rune.
No, not Dana. She's old, like me.
I'm Kate. Kate Walker.
Kate Walker.
Yes. And you're the one that Leon saved during the Origin expedition a long time ago, aren't you?
Yes.
The Goran from Baltayar. Well, you've come a long way, Mr.
Ludwig. Ludwig Hardtack.
Well, Mr. Ludwig, if you don't mind my asking, what happened when you and Leon returned to Ostertal to join the Resistance fighters? And how did you meet Dana?
Leon. My brother.
These drawings, they're moments from your life, aren't they? Looks like a river, and that little figure looks wounded. Is that you when you met Leon and the scientist from the Origin expedition?
Yes.
That person in the middle of the others was in the other paintings. That's Leon, isn't it?
Yes. Leon.
That group. Is it your tribe, Mr. Ludwig?
Yeah.
So you all live together in a cave in Baltayar? Right. So you and your tribe took Leon in after the death of Reinhard Berger in 1937. That's how he was able to survive the winter in the mountains. Then you went with Leon when he decided to return to Vagen to join the Resistance fighters?
Mm-hmm.
These combat scenes, are they of the liberation of Vagen?
Before. During Resistance.
Had Dana already joined the Resistance operation by that time? I mean, by the time shown in the drawing.
No. Later.
The blonde girl with you and Leon can't be Leni, right?
Yes. Leni. My sister.
I knew Leni was a Resistance fighter, but she never told me she fought alongside Leon, let alone you. She even went as far as saying that she never saw Leon again after 1937, when they all met at the Refuge with Dana. Why would she hide something so important?
Time to check on Leni. Come, Kate Walker.
This sketchbook. I think it was Leon's. Detonating wire, just like in the old movies. This symbol looks like a warning. Some kind of map. Looks like the Devil Pass to me. Could all those marks indicate where the Gorons searched for Leon's body? These must be plans for secret operations. Must have been some kind of a headquarters here. Maybe for local resistance fighters such as Leon and his group. Weapons. Must have been here since the war, I guess. So much happened to the Gorun since Leon found him in Baltayar. What a life he had. But there are still so many gray areas. I need to learn more from Demoiselle Leni now.
Ah, Fräulein. I knew you would be back eventually. Judging by your face, you and Ludwig already met.
We have. And it raised a lot of questions about you. About what you said to me the first time we met, and about what you didn't say.
Of course. You can run from your past, but never truly escape it. But you already know that. Don't you, Fräulein?
I want to understand Demoiselle Leni. I'd like to understand why you didn't tell me about Leon's death, about fighting with him in the Resistance, and about the Gore, and about Mr. Ludwig. It would have saved us both so much time and effort.
Because it would have only begged questions. Questions which lead to events that I've never spoken about to anyone. Not even to you, dear Ludwig.
Leni.
Still, I suppose it doesn't matter now. Perhaps it's time I confess my crime.
What are you talking about?
It was the best years of my life. Joining the Resistance, unlike my coward of a father. and fighting alongside Leon after he miraculously got back from Baltayar with Ludwig, it gave me purpose. Leon was a terrific leader. I could feel he was finally taking me seriously, especially with Dana being missing. I knew he was still in love. After all, didn't he cross the globe to rescue her? But we all thought he arrived too late, that Dana had died with her parents during the pogroms. So I believed his mourning would eventually come to an end. And that's when Dana fell from the sky, literally.
Dana was sent by London, right? To oversee that operation led by your resistance network? The exfiltration of a civilian to Switzerland, if I recall correctly.
Indeed. But Leon never told us that Dana was involved. Maybe he was afraid to believe it himself. You should have seen them, Fräulein. It was as if they had never left each other.
Do you know if Dana ever mentioned a child?
Maybe they were planning to have one in Baltayar, who knows?
In Baltayar?
Yes, that's all they ever talked about. How they were going to live over there after the war, along with Ludwig and his tribe. But it was to be just another broken dream.
Right. I should call London now. My radio's downstairs. Leon's drawing book. I recognize the mountains of Wagen in these drawings. Leon must have drawn them during his expeditions in the region. These drawings date from the summer we met, when I worked here. These landscapes don't look like they're from the Vagan region. Leon must have done these drawings when he was in Baltayar with the Origin expedition. This is a drawing of the Goruns. Herr Gustav housed me here when I worked at the Refuge. I have so many fond memories with Leon here. When I left for London with Junta, I never thought I'd see the place again, let alone be here again with Leon. Personal effects in a heap. Can't be a good sign. Judging by these installations, Leon's network seems particularly well organized. Pity the same can't be said for all the resistance networks the Foreign Office deals with. May I? Leni and the Gorun seem close. It's nice that she's found a friend. Not that Herr Gustav lacked affection for her, but she spent too much time alone in that refuge. True brothers and sisters in arms. You can sense that the three of them stand together as one. The Gorun described Leon as his brother. They must have shared lots of adventures together since Leon saved him from the clutches of Herberger. Your drawings are beautiful.
For you, Daneros.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ludwig. It's almost as if you were there with us that night.
Leon told me.
Did he speak about me?
All the time.
I should go now. Talk to you later, Mr. Ludwig. Oh, it looks like Leon and me in this drawing. The Goron must have drawn it from Leon's accounts of us. If this propaganda against the resistance fighters is anything to go by, the Brown Shadow must be pretty desperate. Looks like the Goron must be a nightmare for the Brown Shadow. He must be the super resistant I heard so much about in London. The Refuge. The place where it all began between me and Leon. Harold Exner. A scientist with vital information for the war effort, according to the Foreign Office. His cover has recently been blown, which has led to this operation. Better not say anything during the briefing, but apparently, Exner has a reputation for being rather hot-headed. The Allies are unable to send enough supplies to the resistance fighters for them to completely let go of their good old-fashioned methods. An arms stash. Since the departure of Herr Gustav, resistance fighters have been using this place as an outpost. Shouldn't think the Brown Shadow appreciate Leon and his group throwing their own grenades at them. We'll need to cross Devil's Pass with the package in order to reach Switzerland. They say it's not the most daunting pass, but still, you need to be escorted by a professional alpinist. The Refuge. It'll be the departure point for our expedition into Switzerland tomorrow. The Refuge. It'll be the departure of Switzerland. The package will be safe over there. This part of the radio is used to transmit messages. Leni!
What do you want?
It's amazing how you've grown. How have you been since last time?
Fine, I guess.
I found out that the Refuge was closed down by the Brown Shadow a few years ago. Turns out your network did the best of it. But what about Herr Gustav? Is he...
Dead? No, he's not dead. Although, for me, he might just as well be.
It's quite incredible when I think of you and Leon fighting alongside someone who comes from so far away.
Yeah. After Leon saved him during the expedition in Baltayar, Mr. Ludwig's tribe took him in during the winter months. They became inseparable, like brothers. So much so that Mr. Ludwig insisted on coming back here with Leon. Now he's our most ferocious fighter, the terror of the Brown Shadow.
See you later, Leni.
Have you called London yet?
Aren't you supposed to call London?
Is everything all right, Herr Exner? You seem a little upset. If it's about your exfiltration tomorrow, I can assure you there's nothing to be worried about. Leon is the best for...
I couldn't care less about tomorrow.
So what is it then?
It's my wife, Andrea. It's like I said to your goons there. I can't leave without her.
Your wife? I'm sorry, Herr Exner, but we have no orders regarding...
I don't care about your orders. I'm not leaving without Andrea. Do you hear me? I won't. You think I'm a bastard, don't you? A selfish bastard ready to risk people's lives to recover the woman he loves. That's what you all think, isn't it?
Up to now, you haven't exactly shown us your best side, have you? If you had, we might have had a better opinion of you.
I take full responsibility for my actions, and I expect no pity in return. But would a little understanding be too much to ask? I mean, what would you do in my shoes? What would you do if they asked you to abandon that alpinist you seem to be so fond of for the common good, eh? Because that's what you're asking me to do with Andrea.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I suppose if I were in your shoes, I would pull out all the stops to protect those who are dear to me.
I see. Thank you, Fraulein.
Well, everyone seems all right, more or less. I should get back to the radio now.
This part of the radio is used to receive messages. This part of the radio is used to receive messages. This part of the radio is used to transmit messages. I need my documents so I can find the right setting. They're in a side pocket of my bag. Empty. Maybe Herr Gustav's homemade radio is still around here somewhere. Why did Herr Gustav leave the refuge? Did the brown shadow force him? Judging by these installations, Leon's network seems particularly well organized. Pity the same can't be said for all the resistance networks the Foreign Office deals with. Junta's stash. I doubt I'll find anything of use there to amplify the radio signal. This is the transmitter Herr Gustav told me he'd cobbled together to compensate for the wave disturbance caused by the mountains. Should be able to use it for my own radio to contact London. There must be something else I can plug into it. Once this antenna is connected, there must be a way to open it. So Junta never did come back to retrieve it? Not surprising, really, I suppose, given the fact that World War broke out. What a mess. Herr Gustav must have turned Junta's dark room into a storeroom after she left.
That should boost the signal. Perfect. Better try another one. The signal isn't strong enough. I need to find a way of amplifying it. No doubt this should boost the signal. The signal is strong enough to reach London now. I need to adjust the frequency settings properly to contact London.
London, come in. London? Do you read me? Over. We've made contact. Package safe and sound. I repeat, we've made contact. Package...
Out of the question!
I'm not moving from here without her!
London, please wait a moment. Over. What's going on?
You! Tell London I'm not leaving without my wife.
Herr X, now listen,
No, you listen. Andrea is my closest collaborator. With regard to the Allied war effort, she is just as important as me. She is in Wagen as I speak, hiding at some friend's place under a false identity. You must bring her here and smuggle her into Switzerland with me.
There's no way we're going back to Wagen. Brown Shadow troops have overrun the entire town. We can't risk delaying our departure.
A storm coming. Danger.
I'm not moving from here without her.
London, did you hear that? Roger that. Over and out. They say we can't allow Frau Exner to be captured and risk her letting the cat out of the bag.
What are you waiting for then? Send someone to fetch her.
hang on. You're not asking me to.
Sorry, Leni, we haven't got a choice. Ludwig can't go about in public in Wagen, and I have to prepare everything to get them through Devil's Pass tomorrow. You're the only one I trust enough to...
Why can't she go?
Leni's right. I'm not known to the Brown Shadow. I can sneak into Wagen incognito this evening and be back in time for...
Out of the question. That's not your mission here. And besides, it's too dangerous.
Leon!
All right, then. I'll go.
Leni, wait!
Leon's reaction and his unconditional love for Dana drove me mad with rage. So I decided to take my revenge by making a detour. It was a detour I would regret for the rest of my life.
What did you do?
I made a deal with the devil. No one was supposed to have gotten hurt, I promise. I promise, Fräulein. I just didn't want Leon to leave me forever. To leave with her. But it was a fool's bargain, as I should have known from the beginning.
Leave immediately, before the mountain becomes impassable!
Go through the pass in this weather? Are you mad?
We have no choice, Leni! It's that or fall into the hands of the Brown Shadow! And we both know what that means! We ought to stay, to buy Leon as much time as we can!
Leon,
She's right, Leni! Now go! Go! Come! Dana!
No, don't make this harder than it is!
Dana!
I love you, Leon.
I love you too, Dana, more than anything in the world. Come on, let's go!
Ironic, isn't it? But the worst was yet to come. Who knows how long we fought? Enough for Leon to lead the civilians to the foot of Devil's Path. Ludwig has been searching for Leon's remains since then. But it took the thaw due to global warming to uncover the bodies. And with them, my crime. Precisely when you decided to show up, Fräulein.
Leni.
Dear Ludwig, can you ever
Mr. Ludwig, please!
Don't, Fräulein. I deserve this. Let's get this over with, Fräulein. Let me tell you, about the last time I ever saw Dana. And then I'll be done.
Okay, I'm listening.
It was a year after Leon died, just after the liberation of Vagan.
The little Vagaran scourge. Still clinging on like fleas on a rat, I see. Oh, I was so disappointed I didn't bump into you when we sacked your parents' house. Before we threw them in the Dombra River. Run, Rabbit! Run! 'Cause we'll soon be back to finish off scum like you!
Herr Sauer?
Oh, Fräulein Dana.
What are you doing here?
Well, unlike my former colleagues of the Origin expedition, I refused to be hired by the Allies. So, by the same chalk, I turned down immunity.
Why would you do that?
Well, all I've ever wanted to do in life is to carry out my anthropological research. But if there's one thing I learned in Baltayar, it's that it can't be done by serving the designs of this or that superpower. Not even momentarily. I've had enough of prostituting science. So, I've given myself up to be judged for accepting to be financed by the Brown Shadow.
I see.
I'm sorry about Leon, Fräulein Dana. I know you were close. He, used to talk about you all the time. I'm sorry. I was rather rather harsh toward him last time we met. He was a good man. I miss him. His integrity.
I miss him too. Herr Sauer?
Yes, Fräulein Danner?
Thank you for passing Leon's letter on to me about what happened in Baltayar like you promised you would, despite your own grief. It's proof that you're a man of honor. I wish you well now.
Goodness me, it's you, Dana.
Herr Gustav?
Wish it was still a music academy, eh? Allied HQ now, you know.
Yes,
I just visited Leni.
that's why I've come too. I wanted to see her before I leave. How is she?
Surviving, I suppose. The Allies are taking care of her here in the infirmary. Thank goodness. Special treatment for her exploits in the Resistance. But it's unlikely she'll ever walk again, though.
I'm so sorry for what happened to her. I let Leon die alone, and I couldn't even help Leni when she got hit during the assault on the Refuge.
I understand you, my lovely. I do. But don't blame yourself, eh? Regrets, we all have a few. And some more than others. Especially in times of war, Dana. It's the way of the world. We just have to move on best we can. Maybe if we could all just let the water flow under the bridge, the swans will come back and we'll all be able to live together again. Like we used to.
Would be good, if it's at all possible. And Leni?
I promise to take good care of her. For the rest of my life. I lost my little girl once. I'm not losing her again. I'll take up my job at the Refuge. And I'll adapt it to her handicap. See?
That's nice.
Is everything okay, Dana?
Where were you during the occupation? Leni never mentioned it.
If you want to know, I was cleared by the military court, Dana. Might well have something to do with the fact that I'm the father of a heroine. But all the same, I was cleared of any wrongdoing, you see.
Oh, I see. I see very well, Herr Gustav. You have a good day now. Hello, Leni. I have to leave, Leni. Every new day in Wagen is like another agony for me since Leon died. I can't face being here anymore. Not now that the town is freed. So, I've decided to leave for America. I'm going to try to start life over. I don't know if I'll do any better in the United States, but I'll have more of a chance of getting by there than here. I'm not abandoning you, Leni. Ludwig's staying to help you find Leon's body in the mountain. And I'll write to you, often. I won't forget you. I'm so sorry.
So Dana, she never knew what you did?
Indeed.
So did she write to you like she promised? From the United States?
Yes, she did. For the next 40 years.
She's still alive then?
Can't say for sure, but there's a good chance.
Can you explain?
No. I've had enough of explaining. Explaining to myself. All I want now is to find some peace, far away from guilt and loneliness. I'm going to rest now.
It's not too late to forgive yourself.
Wouldn't know how, even if I wanted to.
You won't know until you try.
Thank you, Fräulein. You'll find the last letter I received from Dana in my automaton. It will give you the answers you're looking for.
Thank you. I'll need a special key to open up this automaton. Let's search somewhere else.
Demoiselle Leni is resting upstairs.
They must have carried Demoiselle Leni to her room after she collapsed. Looks like I can change its shape. They must have carried Demoiselle Leni to her room after she collapsed. Ah, it won't fit. I must display the key properly. No, it's not the proper setting of the key. Something important must be hidden behind this lock. Ah, it won't fit. I must display the key properly. You should be able to control this body now, Oscar. Let's work together to unlock it and find that letter from Dana. This lock. I think I need to slide the small moving part nearby in order to unlock it. Maybe I could ask for Oscar's help if I get stuck.
Ah, a new body. Again. Oh, how basic.
No, it's not the proper setting of the key. Thing's stuck. Thing's stuck. I should... It moved. Maybe it can be... No, I don't think so. I think I can turn the crank now. Oh, it won't fit. I must display the key properly. I must display the key properly. The letter. Spring 1983. Dana sent this letter 20 years ago to Leni. Dana Goengrich, Manhattan. Her name changed. May 21st, 1983. My dear Leni, sorry if I haven't written in a long time. Things haven't been easy for me of late.